Betrayal. Betrayal. Betrayed.
I was really not wanting to make this video, but I feel it needs to be done. In this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the betrayals that Bungie and Activision, of course, has done to the Destiny community. Not only to that community though, but other communities as well. So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about the system that Rolling Stone made a blog over. And this system is pretty complex, but pretty smart on the business perspective to get more money. In case you guys don't know, there was a system that was made to target players to purchase microtransactions more often. This system and method for driving microtransactions in multiplayer video games, in this exact wording, was filed in 2015, but granted the opportunity to use on October 17th. This system details how multiplayer matches are configured, specifically how players are selected to play with one another. That process used by Activision involves a computer looking at a wide variety of factors, including skill level, availability of friends, and multiple other things. It then goes through a system to first soft reserve a slot in a game for a player and then assign the players to the same match. And when it's talking about players, for example, the system may include a microtransaction engine that arranges matches to influence game-related purchases. For instance, the microtransaction engine may match a more expert player who has purchased or already has these microtransactions with a beginning player or, a noob, to encourage the junior player to make game-related purchases of items possessed by that expert player. So basically, to sum up this greedy system, it tries to make sure that a player who hasn't exactly bought microtransactions goes into a game with multiple players that has, to influence that player that hasn't to buy them, so the beginning players can feel on the same skill level and up to date as the expert players. Now keep in mind, Bungie and Activision had mentioned that this system was not used in Destiny 2, which obviously makes sense. Why on earth would they use this system in Destiny 2? Because everything that we can purchase is just for looks. However, Bungie and Activision did something pretty sneaky, and they just recently admitted to this and fixed it. Literally like a couple weeks ago. I'll get more into that later on in this video. First, let's try to stay on topic though about this microtransaction evil greedy system. As you can see, here is a concept of basically what the system is. Anyways, on the other hand, the system can also drop players into matches that will make use of an in-game related purchase to make it feel more worth it. So basically by doing that, it may enhance a level of enjoyment by the player who actually purchased the in-game content, which may encourage more future purchases. For example, if the player purchased a particular weapon with the microtransaction engine, this may match the player in a gameplay session in which the particular weapon is highly effective, giving the player an impression that the particular weapon or whatever they purchased was actually worth it. This may encourage, once again, the player to make more future purchases to achieve similar gameplay results. And in the end, the developers thrive by getting more money. And there was a bit of controversy on how this actually interacted with Destiny 2. I figured I should talk about this as well before I get into the other topic, which is some pretty shady things that Bungie and Activision recently did. I hate to say this, but I grew up playing Bungie's games. They were my favorite developers. And now that is officially changing after all of this that is happening and seeing Destiny 2 not thrive as much as I anticipated. Literally, this new DLC that recently came out, we're going to be basically replaying the same raid that we've already played. There's no creativity of a new Mercury raid or something like there was in Destiny 1 with the Dark Below. I'm not saying we played on Mercury in Destiny 1, but yeah, our first expansion, we got to experience a brand new spanking raid. And now it's like we're going to be playing the same exact thing. And that kind of annoys me. I don't know about you guys, but it annoys me, alright? I'm just trying to be honest in this video, although I may get some hate over saying that. Anyways, enough about that, Vince. Let's get back onto topic about how this system could have been in Destiny 2 and why players thought it was. In the original game Destiny 1, a player could find or purchase for real money a shader that could be used an unlimited amount of times. In Destiny 2, however, the shaders can still be purchased or found, but a lot of players were complaining that they felt they were too hard to find. and now you can only use these shaders on a single item and then they vanish. So this is why people were thinking that this system was actually in Destiny 2 to make players feel like they need to do some microtransactions in order to get their hands on shaders faster, to make their character look how exactly they wanted instead of spending hours grinding for that specific shader. I can't go into too much detail about that because I don't know how much exactly that player spends on Destiny 2. It all just depends. But anyways, let's go away from this system for a second. I will bring it back up here in a second while talking about this other shady system that is in Destiny 2 and was never talked about until like a couple weeks ago. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago or something. So this was pretty recently that this was actually discovered. And Bungie pretty much coming out and actually admitting their betrayal with the Destiny community. Okay, so a writer that goes by Energizer noticed that the XP he was gaining was not the same as he was actually expecting. And he ended up doing some serious math work and calculations over a week period of time to see exactly what was going on. And this guy chain reacted a whole nother controversy that Bungie and Activision had to come out and admit to. So to start off this guy's post, he had mentioned recently there have been a few threads here discussing a supposed XP cap or XP scaling. I saw posts from a few people who had looked at what happened across a couple of public events or screenshots showing a large certain amount of XP number with a minuscule amount of progress in the bar. Seeing as grinding for Season 1 exclusive items from Bright Engrams was his only real motivator to continue playing Destiny 2 anymore, he decided to do his own little investigation. And here is his method that he went by. He had said he went about his testing by recording all of the gameplay on his hunter for the last week. Periodically, he would also record the current amount of XP to a Bright Engram by measuring the dimensions of the actual XP gain. Afterwards, he would watch through the gameplay and record every chain of XP he earned into a spreadsheet along with the timestamp of when it was banked. So he literally waited until the XP disappeared from the screen in game, and how many pixels it actually contributed to the in-game XP progress bar by using a mathematical tactic called DIM. Since the XP bar in-game is 360 pixels long, he calculated that 80,000 XP by 360 pixels, and it equaled up to 222.8, and he rounded that up to 225. XP per pixel could be used to estimate how much XP was being recorded in the back end at a higher frequency than he could get the data from the dimensions. Many of his values, especially the pixels of progress in the XP bar, have a decent margin of error associated with them. He accepted that though, but they should be able to be compared among themselves to show trends, he had mentioned, or as a ballpark figure to show that the progress bar does correspond to the XP as shown by the Bungie API. So the conclusion of his method, after he recorded pretty much all of his progress, he ended up finding out that the XP displayed in game is at the same scale as in the API and third-party apps. There is a hidden scaling factor that ramps up as you earn XP more quickly. The scaling factor will increase at least to the point where you are only really earning 4% of what you actually should be. 4%, guys. 4%! Public events will only ever earn you 50% of what they say, as the end of event XP alone is enough to trigger a 50% scaling factor. To get one thing clear, there is no cap to XP. You can keep earning XP as fast as you want, and you will always be making progress towards that next Bright Engram. You will just face dramatically diminishing returns the faster you go. You end up not gaining as fast XP as you really should, which in the end makes it so you don't get as many Bright Engrams as fast, which could increase the amount of microtransactions purchased. It just all depends if you want to spend the money to actually get that Bright Engram instead of waiting to level up. And Bungie ended up coming out on one of their blogs on Bungie.net talking about this silent XP mechanic. It reads, keep in mind this was 2 weeks ago. Last weekend, we disabled a scaling mechanism that adjusted XP gains up and down without reflecting those adjustments in the UI. Our intention was to keep slower paced activities as rewarding as high intensity grinding without confusing variations in displayed XP values. But the silent nature of the mechanic betrayed the expectation of transparency that you have for Destiny 2. Bungie. Betrayed. Bungie, Bungie, Bungie. Come on. It's not about our expectation, it's about what it should have been, or at least made known. This was a silent mechanism being used. Anyways, it goes on and says, we were able to disable the system with a server-side change, but a new solution is now needed to rebalance XP in Destiny 2. We have begun that work and will continue to provide updates to you about timelines and specifics. The values coded into our website API are being updated today and may already have been as you read this post, and of course it already has. This has been 2 weeks ago. To reflect the removal of this scaling mechanism, in a future update, we intend to link these internal and display only values. In a future update, we intend to link these internal and display only values together for greater consistency, and to ensure that when changes are made, they are accurately reflected everywhere we report them. We already see that the newly adjusted 160,000 XP per level value means that leveling is too slow for some activities, and we have begun the process of collecting data and recalibrating XP earn rates to improve them as quickly as possible. XP boosts, including both consumable items and passive bonuses like the well-rested 300% bonus, were always applied after this system and never resulted in early slowing of XP. They should be unchanged by the disabling of the system and will continue to provide their stated increase in XP gain. Expect to see a lot of conversation from our team on this front as XP rewards are updated and brought back in line with expectations. So going back to that system that I was talking about in the beginning of this video, sure, Bungie and Activision might not be using that system in Destiny 2, but they are still making it so players will end up wanting to eventually spend money on microtransactions. Of course, you got to think of it in a business perspective. What is Bungie and Activision thinking about here? They're thinking about how to make more money out of their games that they sell. I hate to see Bungie go down the road of being a soulless developer, but it seems like they are slowly going there. But yeah, guys, that's all I really wanted to share with you all in this video. I feel like this needed to be discussed with the Destiny community. I don't know what you guys think about it, but hopefully Bungie and Activision start changing their ways about Destiny. I'm out of here though, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to watch and listen. Until next time, peace.